Hi, everyone. Today's webinar is titled FDA Drug Topics, Navigating FDA's Drug Information Resources. My name is Dr. Kara Burke, a pharmacist and team leader in the Division of Drug Information. I would like to welcome you to this educational activity sponsored by the FDA Center for Drug Evaluation and Research, Office of Communications, Division of Drug Information. We thank you and appreciate your patience as we continue to offer these CE courses completely virtual. Before I introduce our speaker, I have a few housekeeping remarks. All faculty are expected to use generic names. If trade names are used, those of several companies should be used rather than only that of a single supporting company. Unapproved use disclosure. CE faculty and speakers are required to disclose to the attendees when products or procedures being discussed are off-label, unlabeled, not FDA approved, and any limitations on the information that is presented. Disclosure. The faculty's planning committee members and the FDA CE consultation and accreditation team have nothing to disclose. We hope you will enjoy meeting our presenter today. Commander Lindsay Wagner is the branch chief for the Education and Outreach branch in the Division of Drug Information within the FDA Center for Drug Evaluation and Research. Commander Wagner received her Doctor of Pharmacy degree from the Albany College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences in 2009 and a Master's in Health Communication and Promotion from Washington State University in 2023. Prior to joining FDA in the United States Public Health Service, she completed the FDA Regulatory Pharmaceutical Fellowship with Purdue University, specializing in drug information. In her current role, she leads a team of pharmacists and other staff in a variety of activities, including the provision of timely, complete, and accurate responses to drug information inquiries from around the globe. Now, please give a warm online welcome to Commander Wagner.
Thank you, Dr. Burke. My name is Lindsay. It's my pleasure today to provide an overview of FDA's drug information resources. I'll be focused today on how healthcare professionals can best use FDA's online drug information resources, as well as how to stay up to date on new information with ease. Please note that the views and opinions expressed in this presentation are my own and should not be construed to represent FDA's view or policies. We'll be using questions throughout today's presentation to demonstrate how to use a number of resources available from FDA. These example questions were selected for this purpose only. The drug products highlighted in these examples have no other purpose or intended meaning. The objectives of today's presentation are to select the appropriate FDA drug information resource to answer questions from patients, to demonstrate how to use FDA's drug information resources, and to identify tools to stay informed with direct updates from FDA. Within FDA, there are 9 center-level organizations. The Division of Drug Information, or DDI, where I work, is located within CDR, the Center for Drug Evaluation and Research. CDR is responsible for protecting and promoting public health by helping to ensure that human drugs are safe and effective for their intended use, that they meet established quality standards, and that they are available to patients. The mission of DDI within CDR is to optimize CDR's educational and communication efforts to our global community. In DDI, we serve as CDR's focal point for public inquiries regarding human drug products and support FDA's mission to promote and protect public health. DDI receives and responds to inquiries through multiple channels, including phone, email, social media through Facebook and LinkedIn, and letters. In 2023, we received over 42,000 inquiries. Most of the questions we receive come from patients and consumers, followed by industry and then healthcare professionals, including physicians and pharmacists. We respond to many types of questions on many topics, as shown by the top 10 inquiry topics list. Questions we receive range from questions regarding drug recalls and shortages to personal importation, to clinical trials and investigational drugs. DDI uses all the resources I will discuss in today's webinar to help answer these questions. This is a list of FDA's drug information databases and resources that will be discussed today in further detail. I wish we had time today to cover every resource and database that we use in the Division of Drug Information to respond to the questions we receive. But in the interest of time, this list focuses on a subset of FDA's drug information databases and resources that healthcare professionals can use to answer most common questions. I'm going to walk us through these resources using real questions received by our pharmacists here in the Division of Drug Information. Each question was selected for example purposes only. So it's time to follow along and we're going to get started. To find drug information resources through our website, you'll visit www.fda.gov. From there, select the menu button located next to the search option in the top right corner. You can see the red box here highlighting that. From the expanded menu options, select drugs under products. Once on the drugs page, you can navigate to the resources in one of two ways. Under the Navigate the Drugs section, you can select the topic options to find resources specific to the topic of interest to you, such as drug information, safety and availability, drug approvals, drug development. There's so much more. The second option is to select Resources under Priority Areas and Initiatives. We'll use this option to continue since it is more general. Once you select the Resources for You option, select Information for Healthcare Professionals. You can see links directly to drug approvals and databases there at the top of the list, and then direct links to other resources such as the National Drug Code Directory and the Orange Book. So now that you know where to locate some of the resources we'll be reviewing today, I'm going to demonstrate the use and application of these resources. Some of our most popular databases are used to find NDC number associated data and drug labeling. So here we have two healthcare professionals asking common questions that we'll answer with these resources, selected for example purposes. The first asks, can you tell me if an NDC number is correct? My patient's insurance rejected a claim because of the NDC number. And the second asks, is sodium sulfacetamide and sulfur cleanser FDA approved? Insurance won't pay for it, claiming it's unapproved. We'll walk through these two inquiries and how to find the answers for them. The NDC directory publishes NDC numbers and the information submitted as part of the listing information. This information is updated daily. You can search the NDC directory by proprietary name, non-proprietary name, NDC number, labeler, or application number. And there's also an NDC Express app. On the left, we show the information that we might collect about the product in question to help us search the NDC directory for an answer. The URL for the NDC directory is shown on the bottom right if you didn't navigate with us earlier but want to follow along online. You'll continue seeing those URLs throughout this presentation. From the information collected, we're going to use the non-proprietary name as the search term to illustrate how to perform this search. And just as a reminder, all the examples were chosen at random and are for example purposes only. Here we have a screenshot from the NDC directory search results. There is an additional text search feature shown at the top right corner. It allows you to enter multiple additional search terms, which can be separated by quotation marks. And a lot of folks don't know about that, and it can be very useful. You can also click on the section headers shown here and sort them in ascending or descending order. And we show again the NDC number at the top. That's the one that was rejected that we're trying to find. In the results below, we can see the NDC that most closely matches does not have an additional 0 at the beginning of the third segment of the code. So that answers our question. And then you might wonder, well, why does this discrepancy exist? These numbers are slightly different because each drug product listed with FDA has a unique 10-digit 3-segment number in the NDC directory. However, the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, or HIPAA, with which I'm sure all our healthcare professionals are very familiar, has a standard of an 11-digit NDC number. And that's why many NDC numbers will include an extra leading 0 to achieve 11 digits, such as we see here in the third segment of the number. This leading 0 may also be found in other segments of the code. And since 0 can be a valid digit in an NDC number, this can lead to confusion when you're trying to reconstitute the NDC back to its FDA standard, and it can result in some questions like we see here. So searching the NDC directory by these other identifiers in the way shown here today can be especially helpful. If you only searched by the 11-digit NDC number that included the extra 0, you wouldn't find any results. Next, we have a question about a product's approval status. We'll first try answering this question using Drugs at FDA. Drugs at FDA is a resource that includes all FDA-approved medications. It does not contain unapproved drugs or those marketed through an over-the-counter monograph. The main uses of Drugs at FDA are to find the approved labeling for prescription drug products, including medication guides, to find generic drug products that are therapeutically equivalent to an innovator drug product, and to view the historical documents associated with a particular drug application, such as the past approved labeling, approval letters, and review packages. Since Drugs at FDA includes only approved drugs, if the drug product we search for is not included in this database, it tells us that the product may be unapproved. For the purposes of this example search, we will type in sodium sulfacetamide and sulfur. You can also browse alphabetically by drug name or run a report for drug approvals by month. This function can be helpful when a patient asks about a drug they heard was recently approved by FDA, but they're not able to remember the name. Drugs at FDA is perhaps our most well-known database, and it is also available as an app. The search for sodium sulfacetamide and sulfur does not bring up any results, so we suspect the product is unapproved. If we were to search for an approved drug product, other information, including the different strengths available, dosage forms, and the marketing status, that would all be available in the search results. To try to confirm that the marketing status of this product is in fact unapproved, we'll use FDA's online label repository located at labels.fda.gov. This online resource from FDA provides information for prescription, over-the-counter, and unapproved drugs, including the labeling submitted by the company. You may be familiar with using DailyMed, a site from the National Institutes of Health. DailyMed and labels.fda.gov contain the same information, but their search functionality and the way results are displayed can be quite different. We'll search again by the proprietary name using the example of sodium sulfacetamide and sulfur. There are multiple ways to search that are shown here, including by active ingredient, NDC number, and application number, as well as some combinations of those options can really help you zero in quickly on the labeling for a particular product. The labeling for sodium sulfacetamide and sulfur does appear in this database, and the rightmost column identifies the marketing category. You can see this database confirms the company listed this product with the marketing category of unapproved drug other. We can confirm this by clicking on the proprietary name hyperlink to access the unapproved drug labeling. At the top, there is a disclaimer message that states this drug has not been approved by FDA to be safe and effective, and this labeling has not been approved by FDA. It provides a link to more information about unapproved drugs. A newer resource you may not be currently using is FDA Label. FDA Label is a web-based application designed to allow users to perform customizable searches of thousands of in-use labeling for FDA-regulated products. This resource also uses the same information made available through DailyMed and labels.fda.gov. And again, it has quite different search functionality and available results. FDA Label can be used to conduct full text searches of the entire labeling or specific sections or subsections within the labeling. You can search using a single field or use a combination of fields to create advanced searches. To demonstrate this, we have a question from an inquirer who wants to know what drugs in the biguanide, glyinide, or sulfonylurea pharmacologic classes have box warnings. To enlarge the view for this presentation, we had to break up the search page onto a few slides. The medications we are searching for are human prescription drug products, so we select Human RX under labeling types. Next, by selecting NDA, we are limiting the marketing category to prescription drugs marketed under a new drug application. But you're not limited to just one selection for application types or marketing category, And you could select BLA to include therapeutic biologics and new drugs approved under a biologics license application, or add ANDA to include generic drugs approved under an abbreviated new drug application. Under the labeling section, there's a drop-down menu, and we have selected boxed warning as we want to know what products have boxed warnings. You can search for specific boxed warnings or leave the search entry blank to check if the labeling has the boxed warning section at all, which is what we want to do for this question. Finally, the pharmacologic classes we are searching in are biguanides, glinides, and sulfonylureas. This is not a complete list of all the results for this particular search. Again, we enlarged the image and cropped it for viewing purposes, and what is shown on screen was selected for example purposes only. With that in mind, you can see that after running this search, there are several drug products that meet the criteria. Within the red box are hyperlinks that you can click on to view the labeling. You can choose to look directly at the SPL document, and SPL stands for Structured Product Labeling, or the other links will direct you to the webpage within Daily Med, Drugs at FDA, or the Orange Book for the specific product you select. As you can see, there are many resources available to access drug labeling. The choice of which one is best to use really depends on the question and the information you need to access most quickly in your results. Next, we'll talk about 2 online books provided by FDA. Here we have a provider asking a common question regarding generic substitution. She asks, my patient is requesting a generic version of their inhaler. Are there any therapeutically equivalent generics approved? We'll walk through how to answer this question using the electronic Orange Book. The Orange Book provides a list of all prescription drug products that are approved by FDA for safety and effectiveness, along with therapeutic equivalence determinations for multi-source prescription products. The Orange Book is updated daily to include product information for new generic drug approvals. There are many ways to search the Orange Book, including by proprietary name, active ingredient, application number, company name, dosage form, and route of administration. For the purposes of providing this example, we'll search albuterol sulfate to see what information we can find for this healthcare professional. Additionally, there is an Orange Book Express app, and that provides patent and exclusivity information. So here we see the search result for albuterol sulfate. Within these results, we can narrow our findings using the search box in the upper right-hand corner to include only metered aerosols. Similar to the NDC directory, the section headers can be sorted in ascending or descending order. However, the Orange Book is different than the NDC directory or Drugs at FDA, and that the Orange Book provides information on patents and exclusivities for approved drug products. This is important because you may be asked by a patient when a generic could become available for a drug they take. And this is a helpful resource to determine if a product has any approved therapeutically equivalent generics already, or has any unexpired patents or exclusivities that may be protecting the innovator product from generic competition. To view patent and exclusivity information from these search results, you'd click the hyperlinked application number, which is shown in the middle in blue font. There's also the column headings for TE code, RLD, and RS. Those are also hyperlinked. TE stands for therapeutic equivalent, RLD stands for reference listed drug, and RS stands for reference standard. If you forget, the hyperlinks go straight to the online Orange Book preface, which provides definitions for these terms and a description of the information provided under each. When the TE code column is blank, we can quickly conclude that there are no approved therapeutically equivalent generic products, such as you see with the combination albuterol budesonide product at the bottom of the results. Here we can see that there are 2 different TE codes for albuterol sulfate inhalers. The products with a therapeutic equivalence code of AB1 are rated as therapeutically equivalent to the AB1 rated product that is also marked the RLD and RS, which is shown here to be marketed under the proprietary name of Proventil HFA. Many search results, when you go through the Orange Book, will just show AB, and that indicates therapeutic equivalence. 3 character codes like this generally are assigned only in situations when more than one reference listed drug of the same strength has been designated under the same heading. We can also see other brands of albuterol that have their own generic equivalents as well. ProAir HFA, for example, shows the AB2 rating, meaning that all other generic products with AB2 shown are deemed therapeutically equivalent. A BX rating, which you see here, indicates that there are generic products approved with the same active ingredient, dosage form, route of administration, and strength, but they are not therapeutically equivalent. More information about AB, BX, and all the other ratings you can find in the Orange Book is available in the Orange Book preface. You can easily access that by clicking on the TE code column hyperlink. Switching books, this is the Purple Book. The Purple Book contains information about all FDA-licensed biological products regulated by CDR, as well as all FDA-licensed allergenic, cellular, and gene therapy, hematologic, and vaccine products regulated by the Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research, or CBER. Healthcare professionals may find the Purple Book's simple search especially useful to see all associated products for a biological product that are approved as biosimilar or interchangeable. The advanced search is also useful for searching additional terms, including strength, dosage form, and product presentation. For example, you could search the term auto-injector using the advanced search option and see results. When a biologic is searched, products that are licensed will be listed under the reference product to which biosimilarity or interchangeability is demonstrated. Shown here is not the complete list of results for this product because it was enlarged for this presentation. The agency is reaching out to prescribers and other healthcare professionals to encourage them not to wait for a biosimilar to become interchangeable before prescribing that product. You can see the example search for adalimumab here on the left and a sampling of the search results on the right. Now that we've covered labeling and NDC resources and online books, I'm going to move to focusing on the drug shortages database, as well as how to locate drug recall information, and we'll use two example questions to do that. The first asks, I'm having issues ordering methylphenidate. When will I be able to get that medication? The second asks, I heard that some eye drops were recently recalled. How can I check online to see if a certain product is part of the recall? We'll use our existing resources to answer these questions. For the first question, we turn to FDA's drug shortages database. In the database, you can search for current shortages, resolved shortages, and discontinuations of products. You can also review drug shortage information by looking for a particular therapeutic category or for what is new or what is updated. On this page, you can also contact us to report a drug shortage to FDA. Healthcare professionals are encouraged to inform FDA when they become aware of a shortage. The drug shortage staff uses information from manufacturers, distributors, and market share data to determine if a shortage exists. We also offer the drug shortages app if you prefer to receive real-time updates directly to your device. Back to the question, we'll look up methylphenidate as an example. Looking up methylphenidate in the FDA drug shortages database will take you to a results page showing the forms of methylphenidate that are currently in shortage. Clicking on the extended release tablet hyperlink will take you to more details regarding this specific product, including when the drug shortage notice was first posted, the last date the information was verified, which is more recently now than when we prepared these slides, sponsor-specific information, including company contact information, availability, and estimated duration of the shortage, as well as the reason for the current shortage. As seen on the bottom left, the brand name product is available, but we can see on the right that some of the generic products are also available, though some are in shortage or have limited inventory. Manufacturers will sometimes provide us information on when a product is expected to become available again, and you can see that in the middle on the right towards the top. Additionally, we can see the most recently re-verified date to know the information is still current. Clicking through the information in the drug shortages database like this, even if the specific product you're looking at is currently available, can provide valuable information on the context and the history of that product shortage. If you're interested in learning more about drug shortages than I can cover today, including specific information on the stimulant shortage, I recommend the Q&A with FDA podcast episode where we interviewed Commander Emily Thacker from the drug shortage staff. You can find that podcast, the episode transcript, and information about how to claim CE credit after listening by visiting fda.gov/QA with FDA. And if you didn't catch that URL, we're going to revisit podcasts and have a QR code on screen for the Q&A with FDA series later on. Now let's see how we can answer the question about a product impacted by a recall. To do this, we'll visit the drug recalls homepage and look up any keyword related to the recall of interest. In this case, eye drops. You can also filter this site by product type. Here we can see that a recall has been issued for multiple brands of eye drops on November 15, 2023, and an update was posted as well. By clicking on the highlighted link, we can learn more information about this recall. Clicking on the hyperlink brings you to the company's recall announcement. This information includes the date the recall was announced by the company, the product description, the reason for the recall, and the company contact information. Depending on the level of the recall, this is also where you'll find instructions and information about what to do if you have the affected product in stock or what to tell your patients. When you don't find a recall on the drug recalls webpage, another way to search is through the enforcement reports. Once recalls are classified, all recalls go into FDA's enforcement report according to the level of hazard involved. On the enforcement reports page, you can choose to view weekly enforcement reports, or you can perform a search. I usually prefer the advanced search option because you can search by product description, recalling firm, the recall class, the reason for the recall, or you can just put in some approximate dates. Our next set of resources assist you in staying up to date with FDA drug safety information. In the interest of time, we won't go through MedWatch and how to make a report, since many of you watching are probably familiar with this process. If you're not familiar with MedWatch, or if you're not comfortable explaining to your patient what FDA does with MedWatch adverse event reports received, I recommend viewing the home study webinar available titled FDA Drug Topics, FDA's Role in Post-Marketing Drug Safety Surveillance. This webinar discussed how adverse event reports are collected, analyzed, and communicated to the public. Going to the questions on screen from healthcare providers, the first is asking, my patient developed a rash while taking a prescription drug. Could this be attributed to the medication? And the second asks, what safety information does the FDA have regarding compounded drug products? When answering the first question, as healthcare professionals, we would collect a list of the patient's medications and review the drug labeling using Drugs at FDA or any one of the drug labeling resources we covered earlier first to check if rash is a known possible side effect. But we should also search to see if any drug safety communications about the drug in this concern have been published, since depending on the product type and the nature of the communication, the risk might not yet be included in the labeling resource. On the left is the Drug Safety Communications homepage. Drug safety communications are also known as DSCs. DSCs are CDR's primary tool for communicating important, new, and emerging safety information to the public. As shown in the top left red box, you can sign up to receive email alerts regarding new drug safety communications. Let's assume one of the patient's medications is a levetiracetam product. As you can see here, a DSC was issued in November of last year regarding the risk of a rare but serious reaction that includes rash as a presenting symptom. By clicking on the DSC, we can learn more about the data supporting this new warning. We also make every drug safety communication available as a podcast through our podcast series, Drug Safety Podcast. And this podcast will soon offer a half hour of continuing education credit for physicians, pharmacists, nurse practitioners, physician assistants, pharmacy technicians, and more. If you want to see just the labeling change that was made in relation to this DSC, we can look at the Drug Safety Related Labeling Changes, or SRLC database. You can search by the brand name or active ingredient, or search by the labeling section that may have been changed. You can also check the patient counseling information, patient information, medication guide box to further your search to include these types of labeling updates. From this page, you may also sign up to receive email alerts regarding labeling changes. That's shown in the top left red box. To illustrate the SRLC database, we show here the levetiracetam entry updated on March 14th, 2024. Clicking on the drug name, we see that the approved labeling has been updated in the warnings and precautions section to inform prescribers about the risk of DRESS, multi-organ hypersensitivity with and without rash. If you recall, the drug safety communication was issued November 28th of 2023, while the approved labeling was updated a few months later. That's why it's always important to check for drug safety communications in addition to checking labeling resources. Switching to our second example question, which asks, what safety information does the FDA have regarding compounded drug products? FDA provides risk alerts for compounded human drug products. The Compounding Risk Alerts website is organized chronologically with the most recent alerts listed first. The information provided on this website is intended to alert healthcare professionals of adverse event reports related to compounded human drugs. Following the link at the bottom of the screen takes you to FDA's Human Drug Compounding homepage. There's a menu on the left-hand side that lists the Compounding Risk Alerts website. Email updates are also offered for compounding risk alerts, so it's easy to stay informed. Here we have two healthcare professionals with questions about med guides and REMS. The first asks, where can I find the updated medication guide for a particular medication? And the second says, I'm dispensing a drug product and understand the REMS was recently updated. How do I view the changes? Since we've already reviewed several labeling resources, such as Drugs at FDA, labels.fda.gov, and FDA Label, all of which provide medication guides as part of the approved current labeling, we're not going to go through another search to find an updated medication guide. You would follow those same strategies to pull up the approved or in-use labeling. That means we'll move directly into the REMS question. To answer the question about updated REMS requirements, we'll visit REMS at FDA. REMS at FDA is a comprehensive database where you can learn about the requirements of any particular REMS program. From this page, you can also sign up for REMS email alerts and download reports and data files about current REMS, as well as REMS that are no longer in place. For the purposes of providing a recently updated example, we'll look at the clozapine shared system REMS program. Once you've clicked on a REMS of interest, there are several helpful tabs to select from. One of the most helpful tabs for healthcare providers will be the Summary tab. This tab summarizes the requirements by type of participant, including healthcare provider, patient, pharmacy, and distributor. Each REMS listing also provides a link to the application holder's REMS website, which can provide further information and materials. Clicking on the Update History tab brings us to a chronological list of updates that have been enacted by the clozapine REMS program and gives a brief description of the changes that were made, directly answering this question. For clozapine, the FDA also has an informational website available, which includes information about the REMS program and its recent updates. All of these resources can be used to answer the healthcare professional's question and assist him with staying up to date. If there were further questions about the content of the REMS, we would refer this healthcare professional to contact the clozapine REMS program directly. To learn even more about REMS at FDA, I recommend watching a recorded webinar from November of 2023 from FDA Drug Topics titled Advancing Transparency and Regulatory Science Activities on the Risk Evaluation and Mitigation Strategy. That webinar described the REMS integration project, REMS structured product labeling, and the REMS public dashboard in great detail. Now that you know how to use all these great no-cost resources from FDA, let's review how to stay connected to news and updates about human drugs. The FDA's Facebook and Instagram pages are great resources for information and updates from FDA across all of FDA's product centers. On Facebook, we engage in two-way communication on comments about drugs, and we post about upcoming drug-focused public events. We encourage you to follow us on Facebook and on Instagram to stay up to date about drugs, biological products, medical devices, our nation's food supply, and more. FDA is also active on X and Threads. There we post drug approvals, recalls, shortage information, drug safety communications, and much more. You can also connect with us on the FDA's main LinkedIn page and the Global Alliance of Drug Information Specialists group. On LinkedIn, we post industry information, drug approvals, drug safety communications, upcoming events, new resources, and much more. We encourage healthcare professionals to join the GADIS group on LinkedIn. To find this group, go to LinkedIn, search GADIS, GADIS, and then filter for groups. When you do that, it should be the top result. The goal of this group is to create community, share up-to-date CDR information, and provide opportunities for continuing education, such as these live webinars, as well as home study CE opportunities and CE challenge questions through polls. And finally, we're going to review some additional ways you can stay informed while also earning CE credits at no cost to you. I'm not going to review our webinar program, FDA Drug Topics, since by virtue of being here for this presentation, I feel confident you already know about this series. However, did you know we produce 4 podcasts? Q&A with FDA, our newest podcast series. That one's geared towards educating healthcare professionals and patients. The series provides conversation and discussion about regulatory topics based on commonly asked questions. The podcast is done in an interview style with senior leaders at FDA, so you get to hear from them directly. The Drug Safety Podcast is released in conjunction with new drug safety communications and will soon join Q&A with FDA in offering no-cost CE credit on our website. The Drug Information Soundcast in Clinical Oncology, or DISCO, provides information about new or significant oncology drug approvals and safety information for cancer treatments. And finally, the CDR SBIA Chronicles podcast series is meant for the pharmaceutical industry. It provides highlights of new guidance documents, drug development, and regulatory topics. You can listen to these podcasts or view transcripts for each episode by visiting the individual web pages on fda.gov, which you can access via the QR codes here, or listen via Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or ReachMD. And also, you can view these podcasts on YouTube. There's now a section just for podcasts on FDA's YouTube channel. And be sure to subscribe to each podcast so you're notified of new episodes. If there is one learning site to add to your favorites today, it's CDR Learn. CDR Learn Training and Education Portal is where you can access free education for healthcare professionals, academia, students, and consumers. The site currently has over 200 offerings available in different formats, such as podcasts, webinars, interactive videos, and there's topics being discussed, such as compounding, biosimilars, drug regulations, and so much more. To quickly search for CE offerings, you would visit the CDR Learn site using the URL shown on the bottom left. Select CE credit under Type to view courses and register for upcoming events that offer no-cost CE. You can visit CDR Learn often to check out the new offerings that are added practically every day. I'm going to leave this on screen for a minute so you can bookmark this page. And while you do that, I just want to sincerely thank you for your time today. Thank you for joining us to learn about so many of FDA's great resources. If you learned about at least one new resource, or you leave here with at least one new tip that can help you in your practice, I will consider this a success.
Thank you, Commander Wagner. That was a great presentation, very informational. Let's get to the questions. Looks like we have about 8-10 minutes to answer some of these good questions that were coming in. First one, you presented on compounding risk alerts. I've received questions from patients who are prescribed compounded semaglutide. They think it's a generic. Is this allowed?
Thank you. Yeah, that's a great question. We actually were just at the American Pharmacists Association meeting, and we talked about this quite a bit with the pharmacists there. We do have a web page, and we can put a link to it in the chat, perhaps is the best way to do it, that talks about semaglutide products and compounding. And there, FDA has posted a letter that was issued to the National Association of Boards of Pharmacy, and there's additional letters to the boards, the Federation of State Medical Boards. Those letters in this website convey the concerns from FDA about compounded semaglutide products, and the concerns focus around the active ingredient being used. That we know that there are some products that are using an active ingredient that is not the same as the active ingredient in semaglutide products. And just to back up a little bit, since semaglutide products are on the drug shortage list, there is a pathway for compounding. But products that contain the salt forms of this active ingredient, the salts are semaglutide sodium and semaglutide acetate. Those have not been shown to be safe and effective. So the recommendation is that patients should only obtain drugs containing semaglutide with a prescription from a licensed healthcare provider, and they should only obtain medicines from state licensed pharmacies or outsourcing facilities registered with FDA. So I think that this is a common misperception that's out there right now, that there's generic products available. And as our healthcare professional audience knows, all three of the semaglutide medications that are approved are only available with a prescription. There are no approved generic versions. It's a good question.
Thanks so much, Lindsay. All right, next question coming in. If I were to seek a historical change under the Drugs at FDA database, is that publicly available?
Yes. So we used Drugs at FDA to search for, is this product approved? Which is a question we receive a lot from patients. Is this product approved? And we can use Drugs at FDA for that purpose. But if you want to find the historical labeling for something or historical change, for most products since about 2007, you'll see all the labeling posted in Drugs at FDA. So that gives you a nice historical look back. You won't find the historical labeling for generic products typically, but you will find it for the innovator products in Drugs at FDA. So it depends on what you're looking for.
Thanks so much, Commander Wagner. All right, next question. How is an NDC assigned if the drug is unapproved?
That's a great question. We have that answer on our NDC directory website. So if you're going to the directory, this is where we walked through some examples where we used the non-proprietary name to verify an NDC that was different between 10 and 11 digits. And we can do that here in this database. There's a link down here for background information. So if you click on background information, it's going to tell you about the NDC directory and what it contains. The NDC directory, it contains information on active, finished, and unfinished drugs. So it contains all of the structured product labeling that's submitted by labelers, and it defines who a labeler is. So it does clarify here, the NDC directory, it contains data submitted for all finished drugs, and that includes prescription, over-the-counter, approved, and unapproved drugs, as well as repackaged and relabeled. And if you ever need some talking points, if you're talking to your patients about an NDC number and what it means, there's some important considerations listed here. And it does restate, an NDC number does not in any way mean that a product is FDA approved. And really any representation that creates that impression of FDA approval because a product has an NDC number is considered misleading and may violate federal law. That's a great question.
Okay, we have a lot more questions. I know we have a few minutes left, so we'll try to answer as many as possible. Next question. In our pharmacy, we sometimes have trouble identifying which generic is substitutable for a certain brand product when there are multiple brands of the same active ingredient, similar to the example you presented about albuterol. This comes up with nifedipine. Can you walk through that as an example? Is there a place we can see the NDC numbers along with the TE codes?
Yes, so if I can share my screen again, I will walk through that example. It is very similar to the albuterol example that we went through. We're going to start with the Orange Book to answer this question. You can click to search the Orange Book database, and we will search for nifedipine. Now, I understand why this one's being asked because there are a lot of 3-character codes with this product. So as you see, you can start to see all the AB rated products. All of these products are considered therapeutically equivalent to the innovator product here, which has the brand name and the proprietary name column. Then you move into the AB1 rated products. These are all considered therapeutically equivalent to one another. Then you have AB2 rated products. Then you get the more AB1 rated products, And again, you can filter these and sort, so you can get them to group together, like we talked about earlier. So you do have a number of different ratings here, 3 character codes. If we go to the next screen, we see more products that have no therapeutic equivalents. So when we go here, this is how you'll tell which products are therapeutically equivalent to a certain innovator. Now, the question had an additional factor, which had to do with how can I see the NDC numbers, which we don't see here. There's a few ways that you could do that. I like the FDA label search for this reason. So I would do an active ingredient search for this product. I would submit that. And here I can see I would have to cross-reference using the ANDA number. So if I go back to my orange book, let me close this one, close this. I can see the application number. So it does require some cross-referencing, but it can be done. You can see all of the NDC numbers for the products. And you can see, for example, these ANDA numbers are the same as these ANDA numbers. So you actually also get if it's a labeler or the repackager, the relabeler name, you get the NDC number. So if you're looking at products in inventory, you're on the shelf and you're trying to figure out which ones are therapeutically equivalent to which nifedipine innovator product, you can do that. You just might have to use 2 databases to connect that information, but that can be done and it can be very helpful.
Thank you, Commander Lindsay Wagner. We're at the 2:01 mark, but maybe let's do one more question. So we'll take our final question now before ending the Q&A portion. Let's see. So patients sometimes want to know where their drug is made, and the labeling will list the distributor's location, but not the manufacturer's. Is this allowed? Is there a way to see where a drug is made and answer this question for patients? We get that question a lot too in drug info.
Yes, we do get that question. The regulations allow, and I mean, if anyone wants to look up the regulations, it's 21 CFR 201.1. It is part of our general labeling provisions. And I just pulled that on screen, and maybe we can include a link to that in the ecfr.gov site. But though the requirement is for the labeling to have the name and place of business of the manufacturer, the packer, or the distributor. So it's not an and, it's an or. So that you will see just the distributor listed. And can they see where their product is made? The answer is sometimes. And we can use several of the labeling resources that we covered today, really all of them. Drugs at FDA, we could look at labels.fda.gov, FDA label. We could also use Daily Med for this purpose. We would want to go to the labeling for that specific product. So I like labels.fda.gov because it's easy for me to see the NDC, who's the labeler, the company name, and click on the hyperlink to be able to open the labeling. And once you do that, you can scroll to the very bottom. And sometimes you can see some information that can provide you with the name of the company and maybe their facility identifier of where that product is being made. And then you can cross-reference that information with our drug registration site, which we call Deckers, the drug establishment's current registration site. And that's where you can look up that company that is listed as a manufacturer in the labeling. And you can see actually where that company is located, where they're doing that manufacturing. Sometimes this is proprietary information. It's held by the drug company. FDA, of course has it, but they can't disclose it. But sometimes you can answer that question for patients, and it's readily available if you know what to look for and which databases to use.
All right. Thank you so much, Commander Wagner. That was a great presentation. We are out of time. So if you have questions that we did not have time to address today, please email them to our Division of Drug Information email address at druginfo@fda.hhs.gov for assistance. And like we mentioned previously, if you need more CEs for your license renewals this year, please check out our list of home study CE courses at www.fda.gov/DDI webinars. And if you have your phones out again, we have 6 QR codes on the slide in front of you that are easy to access. There's a QR code for X, the Drug Information Listserv, our continuing education webpage, our podcast, our Gaddis LinkedIn group, and our fellowship program. Please scan these QR codes for more information and CE opportunities. You may also find additional free CE credits, such as FDA's regulation course titled FDA's Role in Public Health, Drug Efficacy, Safety, Quality, and Beyond on our CDR Learn website by entering CDR Learn in the search engine on fda.gov. This concludes our activity for today. The FDA appreciates your participation in this webinar, and we hope that you will join us again in the future. Thank you all for attending, and please stay safe and healthy. Take care.